Cliftonville Football and Athletic Club is a Northern Irish semi-professional association football club playing in the NIFL Premiership. Founded on September 20, 1879 by John McCredy McAlery in the suburb of Cliftonville and North Belfast, it is the oldest football club in Ireland and celebrated its 130th anniversary in 2009. Since 1890, the club has played at Solitude. Cliftonville contests the North Belfast derby with nearest rivals Crusaders, and also has historical rivalries with Belfast's big two clubs, Glentoran and Linfield. The club has won the Irish League Championship 4 times outright and once shared, the Irish Cup 8 times and the NI Football League Cup 4 times. Cliftonville are the reigning Irish League champions, following their 2013 Euro 14 title success, their second successive title, 4th outright title, and 5th overall including the 1905 Euro 06 title they shared with Distillery when the two clubs could not be separated even after 2 playoff matches. This was the only occasion in Irish League history that the title has been shared. History = the founders of football in Ireland = Cliftonville F.C. was founded on September 20, 1879 after an advertisement in the Belfast Newsletter and Northern Whig in which John McCredy, a young Belfast businessman and manager of the Irish Tweed House, Royal Avenue, and later with premises in Rosemary Street, asked people to sign up with Cliftonville Association Football Club. Only 1 week after the advertisement was published, Cliftonville played its first recorded game at Old Park Avenue against a selection of rugby players known as Quidnunces. The game took place on September 29, 1879. The newly formed club, however, was beaten to a Euro 1. In its first match against the Scottish club Caledonians, it fared worse, a 1 Euro 9 defeat. In 1880, it was again John McCredy who was the moving spirit in the formation of the Irish Football Association. He issued an invitation to interested parties in Belfast and district for a meeting to be called. The first meeting took place on November 18, 1880 at Queen's Hotel, Belfast, presided over by John Sinclair, from which the Irish Football Association was formed. While Major Chichester was appointed president, McAlery became the honorary secretary of the association. This meeting also paved the way for the Irish Cup. The early years the first Irish Cup final, played at Cliftonville on April 9, 1881, saw a 1 Euro 0 defeat against Moyola Park, an opponent that was well known for rough and brutal play. In the following year Cliftonville lost again in the Irish Cup final, this time by 2 Euro 1 against Queen's Island. In 1883 Cliftonville won the cup for the first time with a 5 Euro 0 win over Ulster. During the 1880s Cliftonville also played in the English FA Cup, competing in the competition proper in 1886 a Euro 87 and 1887 a Euro 88. In 1886 a Euro 87 they finally lost in the third round 11 a Euro 0 at home to Partick Thistle after beating Blackburn Park Road 7 a Euro 2 in an earlier round. In 1887 a Euro 88 they scratched their match with Church. The match lost to Linfield 7 a Euro 0 in 1888 is the only FA Cup match to be played on Christmas Day. The inaugural meeting of the Irish Football League was held on March 14, 1890 in the Belfast estate office of the Marquess of Dufferin and Ava with M. McNeice as its first president. 8 clubs agreed to participate: Cliftonville, Clarence, Milford, Old Park, Distillery, Glentoran, Ulster and Linfield. In the 1905 Euro 06 season Cliftonville won the league for the first time, a success that was repeated in the 1909 Euro 10 campaign. In 1891 Cliftonville became the first Irish football club to use floodlights at games. As reported, it seems to be incredible, but it is a fact that in 1891 2 matches were played under electric lights at Cliftonville. Distillery defeated the Reds 4-2 and the Black Watch held Cliftonville to 2-2 draw. Kickoff in each case was at 8 p.m. with lights suspended across the pitch. These were dismantled later with the announcement that spectators found it difficult to follow the action and that the players seemed to have all the fun in the middle. It had been a bold experience, but not a highly successful one with the public skeptical, almost contemptuous of this enterprising project. In 1897 Cliftonville won the Irish Cup after a 3-1 win over Sherwood Foresters. A quite unusual protest was launched by Cliftonville after being beaten by Belfast Celtic in the 1900 Irish Cup competition. The Celtic goalposts were eventually measured and it was found out that they were much too short. A replay took place, in which Cliftonville reversed the 4-0 defeat in the earlier match. Subsequently they won the cup that year, after beating Bohemians 2-1 in the final. Long gap between victories being an all-amateur team until the early 1970s, Cliftonville subsequently played a minor role in Northern Irish football as professionalism took hold. It was only in 1976, under manager Jackie Hutton and his assistant Jackie Patterson, that Cliftonville experienced a revolution in fortune, which peaked on April 28, 1979 in the Irish Cup final at Windsor Park. In front of 15,000 spectators, the largest attendance for many years, Cliftonville beat Portadown 3-2 with goals from John Platt, Mike Adair and a late winner from Tony Bell. Unusually, the Reds were playing in yellow and blue that day. A similar strip was launched for the club's appearance in the 2009 showpiece. In the years after this achievement, Cliftonville returned to the lower reaches of the Irish League, and in the 90s were often closer to relegation than to the top. However, things started to improve after winning the Floodlit Cup in 1996 and the County Antrim Shield in 1997 for the first time in 88 years. Under manager Marty Quinn, a player from the cup-winning side of 1979, Cliftonville won the Irish League in 1997 98 for the first time in 88 years at Solitude after a 1-1 draw against Glentoran. UTV's coverage of the post-match wait in the home changing room, which erupted in celebration once the title win had been confirmed, brought the Reds' victory to a wide audience. After the Cliftonville players returned to the Solitude pitch, Reds captain Mickey Donnelly lifted the Irish League trophy. Donnelly was made new captain at the start of the season after replacing Marty Tabb. Yet the championship was followed by another potential highlight that turned out badly for Cliftonville, when the 1999 final of the Irish Cup between Cliftonville and Portadown was cancelled due to a Cliftonville player who had featured in the semi-final being deemed ineligible. Portadown were given a walkover in the final. The new century former player and captain Marty Tabb was appointed new manager and former defender Stephen Small was appointed assistant manager at the turn of the century. The Reds subsequently reverted to type, escaping relegation by beating odds in relegation matches in 2 consecutive years. Nevertheless, in 2003 the Reds caused an upset by winning the Irish League Cup, beating Larne. The Reds were back in the relegation play-off in the 2003-04 season, but comfortably disposed of Armagh City over the 2 legs. After a string of poor results, Tabb resigned in 2004. Former Institute boss Liam Beckett took over but only managed the club for the 2004-05 season. Since then the Reds have progressed, with a 5th-place finish in 2005-06 under new manager Eddie Patterson and his assistant Tommy Brislin. 5th was the club's highest finish since the league win of 1997-98. The 2006-07 season was a successful one for the club, getting to the League Cup final and winning the County Antrim Shield. Finishing 3rd ensured European football for the first time in 5 years. Cliftonville won their first ever game in Europe, beating Dinapburg of Latvia in the first round of the UEFA Intertoto Cup 2007. The home leg was played at Windsor Park, Belfast and finished 1-1 with Kieran O'Connor scoring the Cliftonville goal, on his competitive debut, and the away leg was played at the Keltnix Stadium in the Latvian city of Daugavpils. Mark Holland scored the only goal of the game, which brought the travelling Red Army to their feet and secured Cliftonville's first victory in European competition. During the 2007-08 campaign, Cliftonville's performances in the first half of the season had seemed to make them genuine title contenders, spending much of the early and middle part of the season top of the table, going top with 5 games to go. However, a poor run of form in the final fixtures of the campaign ended their hopes of winning the biggest prize in local football. The Reds finished the league campaign in 3rd position, 14 points adrift of champions Linfield. However, Cliftonville again secured European football, in the shape of the UEFA Cup. This success meant that the club became the first Northern Irish side to play in all of UEFA's competitions. This time being drawn against Danish giants Copenhagen, the home leg took place at Mourneview Park, Lurgan, and resulted in a 4-0 defeat, with the return leg 2 weeks later held in the Danish National Stadium, Parken Stadium, and the result again was unfavourable, this time a 7-0 defeat. During the 2008-09 campaign, Cliftonville struggled in terms of their league performance but finished strongly to secure a top 6 finish. They won the County Antrim Shield and reached the Irish Cup final, 30 years since their previous victory in the competition. Alas, it was not to be a victorious occasion, with the Reds losing out to their near neighbours, Crusaders. The season was a success on a personal note for captain Chris Scannell, who finished top goal scorer in all competitions, and won the coveted Ulster Footballer of the Year trophy. The Reds began the following season, 2009-10, eager to carry on the largely good form of the last few months of the previous one. That run largely continued, with the highlight of 4-0 destruction in the derby game against Linfield at Solitude. The Reds finished second on 69 points, a 1-0 defeat away to Linfield in the penultimate game cost the Reds the championship. The 2010-11 season began with a 1-0 aggregate win over Croatian side HNK Sibelia in the second qualifying round of the Europa League. Cliftonville lost to CSKA Sofia in Bulgaria in the first match of the third qualifying round, 3-0. In the second leg, Cliftonville lost 1-2 on the night, which secured a 5-1 aggregate success for Sofia, who were allowed to remain in the competition when UEFA ruled that Cliftonville's appeal over the ineligibility of CSKA midfielder Spars Delev had not been lodged within the required 24-hour time frame. At the end of the 2010-11 season, Eddie Patterson became the first manager to be sacked in the club's history. He was replaced by Tommy Brislin. The 2012-13 season was the most successful in the club's history. A win in the 2012-13 Irish League Cup final in January 2013 over rivals Crusaders was followed up with a league championship, courtesy of a 92nd minute penalty from George McMullen against Linfield on April 14, 2013. The club missed out on the treble when they were defeated 3-1 after extra time in the 2012-13 Irish Cup final by Glentoran on May 4, 2013. The club started the following season in the UEFA Champions League second qualifying round, losing to Scottish champions Celtic in both legs. In January 2014, the club lifted their second consecutive League Cup against the same final opponents as the previous season, Crusaders. A 3-2 penalty shootout victory after a 0-0 draw was enough to earn the club's third League Cup title overall. European Cups history. As of July 23, 2013. Current squad. Note: flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. Honours. Senior honours Irish League, 5, 1905 Euro 06, 1909 Euro 10, 1997 Euro 98, 2012 Euro 13, 2013 Euro 14. Irish Cup, 8, 1882 Euro 83, 1887 Euro 88, 1896 Euro 97, 1899 Euro 00, 1900 Euro 01, 1906 Euro 07, 1908 Euro 09, 1978 Euro 79. Northern Ireland Football League Cup, 4, 2003 Euro 04, 2012 Euro 13, 2013 Euro 14, 2014 Euro 15. Gold Cup, 3, 1922 Euro 23, 1932 Euro 33, 1980 Euro 81. Floodlit Cup, 1, 1995 Euro 96. County Antrim Shield, 10, 1891 Euro 92, 1893 Euro 94, 1897 Euro 98, 1925 Euro 26, 1978 Euro 79, 1996 Euro 97, 2006 €07, 2008 €09, 2011 €12, 2014 €15. Belfast Charity Cup, 10, 1884, 1886, 1887, 1888, 1889, 1897, 1906, 1908, 1909, 1924. Charity Shield, 2, 1998, 2014. Alhambra Cup, 1, 1922. Intermediate honours Irish League B Division, 1, 1953 €54 B Division Section 2/Reserve League, 4, 1980 €81 2000 €01 2011 €12 2013-14 Irish Intermediate Cup, 3, 1895 €96 1899 €00 1901 €02 George Wilson Cup, 3, 1999 €00 2007 €08 2012-13 Steel and Sons Cup, 6, 1899 €00 1901 €02 1906 €07 1907 €08 1913 €14 1921 €22 Clarence Cup, 1, 1932 €33 a won by Cliftonville Olympic won by Cliftonville Strollers. Junior honours Irish Junior Cup, 5, 1888 €89 1892 €93 1904 €05 1908 €09 1932 €33 a won by Cliftonville Olympic won by Cliftonville Strollers. Notable former players. Managers, Marty Quinn, Liam Beckett, Eddie Patterson, Tommy Brislin. Supporters, in Cliftonville's early history its support was mainly drawn from middle-class Protestants. However, since the Troubles the club's support has been mainly Roman Catholic. Notable supporters include, Paddy Barnes, boxer, Henry MacDonald, author and journalist of The Observer, Tim McGarry, comedian, Philip Moran, former Northern Irish international, Martin O'Neill, Republic of Ireland manager, Ken Reid, UTV political editor, Jim Boyce FIFA vice president, Jake Burns Stiff Little Fingers frontman. References. External links, official Cliftonville FC website, Cliftonville statistics and results at the Irish Football Club project, supporters picture archive.